Emily Carter had no way of knowing that the ordinary Tuesday she was about to begin would become the last day of her life. At exactly 7:18 a.m., a security camera outside her apartment complex in Charlotte, North Carolina, captured her walking toward her silver Honda Accord. She carried a travel mug of coffee in one hand and her work bag over the other shoulder. Before getting into the driver's seat, she smiled and waved to a neighbor walking a golden retriever. It was a brief, forgettable moment, one that would later become one of the most important pieces of evidence in the investigation. To everyone who knew Emily, she seemed genuinely happy. At 29 years old, she had built a life that many admired. She worked as a marketing consultant, loved hiking on weekends, and rarely missed Sunday dinners with her parents. Friends described her as thoughtful, dependable, and the kind of person who always answered a late-night phone call. Nothing about that morning suggested danger. She stopped at her favorite coffee shop just before 8 o'clock. Surveillance footage showed her laughing with the barista before driving toward her office. Coworkers would later tell detectives she seemed completely normal, focused, cheerful, and excited about an upcoming weekend trip with friends. But sometime after lunch, everything changed. Emily never arrived at her afternoon client meeting. At first, nobody thought much of it. Meetings ran late. Traffic happened. Phones died. Then hours passed. Calls went unanswered. Text messages remained unread. By 8:47 p.m., her younger sister, Megan, had a growing sense that something was terribly wrong. Emily had never gone an entire day without replying to a message. Never. When repeated calls went straight to voicemail, Megan contacted their parents. Within an hour, the family had filed a missing persons report. None of them realized that detectives were already responding to a disturbing 911 call made just a few miles away. A call that would transform a missing person investigation into a homicide case before sunrise. The morning after Emily's body was discovered, detectives obtained her phone records. One call immediately caught their attention. At 1:42 p.m., just minutes before she disappeared, Emily had spoken with someone for nearly 11 minutes. The number belonged to Ryan Mitchell, her ex-boyfriend. The two had ended their relationship almost a year earlier, and according to friends, they hadn't spoken in months. So why had Emily called him? Detectives brought Ryan in for questioning. He admitted they had talked that afternoon, but insisted the conversation was harmless. According to Ryan, Emily had simply wanted to return a few belongings that had been left behind after their breakup. He claimed they agreed to meet later that evening, but said Emily never showed up. His story sounded believable, at least at first, but investigators weren't convinced. When they reviewed surveillance footage from businesses near the coffee shop, they noticed something unexpected. A dark SUV appeared behind Emily's car. It wasn't unusual at first, but camera after camera showed the same vehicle following her across town. Whoever was driving it seemed determined not to lose sight of her. Detectives quickly identified the vehicle's license plate. The registered owner left them stunned. It wasn't Ryan. It belonged to someone much closer to Emily, someone detectives had never considered a suspect. The investigation had just taken a shocking turn. The SUV was registered to Jason Brooks, Emily's coworker. For nearly 3 years, the two had worked in the same office. Jason was known as quiet, reliable, and easy to get along with. No one had ever reported any serious conflicts between them. When detectives questioned him, Jason admitted he had driven near Emily's office that afternoon, but he denied following her. According to Jason, it was nothing more than a coincidence. He claimed he was running errands during his lunch break and happened to be in the same area. His explanation seemed possible, until detectives checked traffic cameras. The footage showed Jason's SUV behind Emily's car at multiple intersections over nearly 40 minutes. It was too consistent to ignore. Then investigators searched Emily's work email. Among hundreds of ordinary messages, they found several emails from Jason. Most were work-related, but a few stood out. Jason had repeatedly invited Emily to dinner and asked if they could spend time together outside the office. Emily had politely declined every invitation. After the last rejection, Jason stopped sending personal messages altogether, at least on email. Detectives began wondering if his feelings had gone much deeper than anyone realized. Then forensic analysts made another discovery. A partial fingerprint recovered from the driver's side door of Emily's car matched someone already on the detectives' list. The investigation was about to take an even darker turn. The fingerprint results came back later that afternoon. Detectives leaned forward as the forensic examiner delivered the report. The print did not belong to Jason. It belonged to Ryan Mitchell. His fingerprint had been found on the driver's side door of Emily's car. When confronted with the evidence, Ryan admitted he had met Emily that afternoon. He said they talked for a few minutes in a parking lot before she drove away. According to Ryan, their meeting was peaceful and they parted on good terms. But investigators noticed something troubling. Ryan had never mentioned this meeting during his first interview. Why would he hide it? Detectives pressed him for answers. Ryan insisted he lied because he was afraid of becoming the prime suspect simply because he was Emily's ex-boyfriend. His explanation sounded reasonable, but there was another problem. Cell phone data placed Ryan's phone less than a mile from the wooded trail where Emily's body was discovered. He claimed he had been driving home. Detectives weren't convinced. Then another piece of evidence arrived from the crime lab. A small strand of dark fabric had been found caught on a broken tree branch near the crime scene. Forensic analysts believed it had torn from the killer's clothing during a struggle. If they could match the fabric to a suspect, the entire case could change overnight. Investigators sent the fabric sample to the state crime lab for analysis. While they waited for the results, detectives obtained a search warrant for Ryan Mitchell's apartment. Inside, everything appeared normal. The place was clean, almost too clean. But one detective noticed a black hooded jacket hanging in the bedroom closet. A small section of the sleeve looked damaged, as if a piece of the fabric had been torn away. The jacket was immediately collected as evidence. Ryan insisted he had ripped it weeks earlier while climbing over a fence. There was no way to prove it, at least not yet. Then the forensic report arrived. The fibers from the crime scene were consistent with the material from Ryan's jacket. It wasn't enough to charge him with murder, but it was a major breakthrough. As detectives dug deeper into Ryan's digital records, they uncovered something even more disturbing. In the days leading up to Emily's death, Ryan had searched online for phrases like, "How long does phone location history stay active? Can deleted messages be recovered?" Those searches raised serious questions. Was he simply curious? Or was he trying to cover his tracks? Just when detectives believed they were getting close to the truth, a new witness walked into the police station. What they revealed would completely change the direction of the investigation. Just as detectives believed the investigation was closing in on Ryan Mitchell, an unexpected witness came forward. She was an elderly woman named Margaret Ellis, who lived in a neighborhood overlooking the wooded trail where Emily's body had been discovered. Margaret explained that she almost hadn't called the police. At first, she didn't think what she had seen was important. But after watching the local news, she realized it might be exactly what investigators were looking for. She told detectives that around 3:30 p.m., she had been watering flowers in her front yard when she noticed a silver Honda parked near the trail entrance. A few moments later, she saw a man standing beside the driver's door, talking to someone inside the car. She couldn't hear the conversation, but she remembered one detail clearly. The discussion didn't look friendly. The man was waving his arms, while the person inside the car remained seated. Then, suddenly, Emily stepped out. For several seconds, the two stood face to face. Margaret said Emily appeared calm, but the man looked increasingly angry. Before she went back inside, she watched the man grab Emily by the wrist. That single moment caught her attention. She never saw what happened next. Detectives asked her the question they had been waiting to ask. "Could you identify the man?" Margaret paused. She wasn't completely certain. The man's face had been partially hidden by a baseball cap, but there was something distinctive about him. He walked with a slight limp, she said. That detail immediately caught the detective's attention. Ryan didn't have a limp, but someone else did. Jason Brooks had suffered a knee injury years earlier while playing college football, leaving him with a noticeable limp whenever he walked long distances. For the first time, detectives began to question whether they had been focusing on the wrong suspect. Had Ryan simply been in the wrong place at the wrong time? Or had Jason carefully stayed in the shadows while suspicion fell on Emily's ex-boyfriend? Detectives reopened Jason's timeline and requested a second search warrant. This time, they weren't looking for emails or surveillance footage. They were looking for physical evidence that could place him at the scene. What they discovered inside Jason's garage would change the investigation forever. With a new search warrant in hand, detectives arrived at Jason Brooks' home early the next morning. Jason appeared calm as officers entered the house. He insisted he had nothing to hide. "I've already told you everything I know," he said. But investigators weren't there to ask more questions. They were looking for evidence. The search began inside the house, where nothing unusual was found. Then detectives moved into the garage. In one corner sat a large plastic storage container filled with camping equipment, old tools, and several pairs of hiking boots. One pair immediately caught an investigator's attention. The soles were covered in dried mud. The boots were sent to the crime lab. Hours later, forensic analysts made an important discovery. The mud trapped in the tread matched the unique soil composition found along the wooded trail where Emily's body had been discovered. It wasn't proof of murder, but it proved Jason had been at the location. Detectives confronted him with the finding. Jason admitted he had visited the trail earlier that week, but claimed he often went there for evening walks after work. Again, his explanation sounded reasonable. But investigators had one more surprise. Forensic technicians had recovered security footage from a nearby gas station located less than a mile from the trail. The video showed Jason's SUV entering the station at 3:58 p.m., less than 30 minutes after witnesses believed Emily had been attacked. As Jason stepped out of his vehicle, cameras captured something unusual. He was no longer wearing the dark hooded jacket seen earlier on traffic cameras. Instead, he had changed into a gray sweatshirt. Detectives wondered, where had the jacket gone? A search of nearby dumpsters finally produced the answer. Hidden beneath several trash bags was a torn black jacket with a ripped sleeve. Forensic testing revealed tiny traces of Emily's DNA on one of the cuffs. The evidence was becoming impossible to ignore. When detectives requested Jason return for another interview, he agreed. But this time, the calm and confident man they had questioned before was gone. As the interview began, Jason looked nervous. And before detectives even asked their first question, he made a mistake that changed everything. Jason Brooks walked into the interview room just after 10 a.m. Unlike his previous interview, he looked exhausted. Dark circles surrounded his eyes, and his hands trembled slightly as he sat down. Detective Sarah Collins placed a folder on the table. Inside were crime scene photographs, surveillance images, forensic reports, and phone records. She didn't say a word. She simply slid the folder toward Jason. He stared at the evidence for several seconds before quietly asking, "Do I need a lawyer?" The detectives exchanged a glance. Instead of answering, Detective Collins asked a simple question. "Jason, why were you at the trail that afternoon?" Jason sighed. "I already told you. I went there to clear my head." "But you weren't alone," the detective replied. She placed a still image from the gas station surveillance footage in front of him. It showed Jason arriving just minutes after Emily disappeared. Then came another photograph, the torn black jacket recovered from the dumpster. Finally, the forensic report confirming Emily's DNA had been found on the jacket's sleeve. Jason's expression changed instantly. For the first time, he looked genuinely frightened. Minutes passed in complete silence. Then Detective Collins leaned forward. "We don't believe you planned for this to happen," she said calmly. "We think something went wrong." Jason lowered his head. His breathing became heavier. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. "I never meant for anyone to get hurt." The room fell silent. Detectives didn't interrupt. They knew better than to rush a suspect who had just begun talking. Jason admitted he had asked Emily to meet him at the trail because he wanted to discuss their relationship. He confessed that he had developed strong feelings for her over the past year, but Emily had repeatedly made it clear she only wanted to remain co-workers. According to Jason, the conversation became emotional. Emily turned to leave. He grabbed her arm, hoping she would stay. She pulled away and threatened to report him to their employer. Jason claimed he panicked. What happened in the next few moments would become the central issue of the trial. Did Jason intentionally kill Emily? Or had a confrontation spiraled into a fatal act of violence? That question would soon be decided in a courtroom. Nearly 11 months after Emily Carter lost her life, the courtroom was filled to capacity. Family members, friends, reporters, and members of the public waited in complete silence as the trial reached its final stage. Over the previous 2 weeks, prosecutors had presented surveillance footage, forensic evidence, DNA analysis, and Jason Brooks' own recorded interview. The prosecution argued that Jason had become obsessed with Emily after she repeatedly rejected his advances. They claimed he lured her to the secluded trail, confronted her, and, in a moment of anger, took her life before attempting to hide the evidence. The defense told a different story. They admitted Jason had met Emily that afternoon, but argued there was never any plan to kill her. According to them, The confrontation escalated unexpectedly, ending in a tragic act of panic rather than premeditated murder. It was now up to the jury. After nearly 9 hours of deliberation, the courtroom doors opened. Everyone stood. The foreperson handed the verdict to the judge. The room was completely silent. The judge looked down at the paper before reading the decision aloud. We, the jury, find the defendant, Jason Brooks, guilty of second-degree murder. A quiet gasp echoed through the courtroom. Emily's mother lowered her head and began to cry. Her father reached for her hand as tears filled his own eyes. Jason showed little emotion as the verdict was read. A few weeks later, the judge sentenced him to 32 years in prison, stating that Emily's life had been stolen by an act of possessiveness and uncontrolled anger. As deputies led Jason out of the courtroom, he turned briefly toward Emily's family. He quietly said, "I'm sorry, but for Emily's loved ones, no apology could erase the pain of losing a daughter, a sister, and a friend whose future had been taken away." Emily Carter left home on what seemed like an ordinary Tuesday morning. She smiled at a neighbor. She made plans for the weekend. She believed she would return home that evening. She never knew it would be the last day of her life. Cases like this are a heartbreaking reminder that violence can sometimes come from someone a victim knows and trusts. They also highlight the importance of recognizing unhealthy, obsessive, or controlling behavior before it escalates. If you found this documentary informative, consider subscribing, like this video, and turn on your notification for more carefully researched true crime stories every week. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next documentary.